So I'll make a commitment. If I put you to sleep, I'll wake you up. So we're here today to talk after I follow Frank, and that was a great presentation by Frank. I learned a lot, and while I'm sitting in the audience, I downloaded his book from Amazon. But one of the key things that we recognize that he's saying is so true. It doesn't matter, both sides, whether it's Democrat or Republican, both sides trample on the Constitution continuously, right? They just, what is this thing called the Constitution? And Article 1, Section 8, we've got strict limits on what the federal government was given authority to do, and about 90% of what they now do is outside of the borders of the Constitution. So you might ask the question, like someone just did, well, what should we do? And I'll give you a quick little story. So in 08, the election of 08 happened, and I turned to my wife and I said, you know, this is not going to turn out well. We're going to have to get involved. Up until then, I voted, but I didn't participate really. I did some research, found an organization up in DC called Freedom Works, got on a plane, went up there, interviewed the team, said, yeah, okay. So my wife and I started supporting Freedom Works. And then I said, I've got to understand the system locally, so I joined Tea Party Manatee. And we made some decent progress in 2010 election. We got the House back. And then in 2012 election, we really didn't get good results. By this time, Tea Party Manatee asked me to be on the board of directors and be in charge of research. So the first question after the 2012 results was, what is the game we're in? What is really going on here? And we defined the game we're in as progressives from both sides of the aisle are launching a continuous stream of unconstitutional initiatives, and it's a divide and conquer strategy against us. So here we are. How many people think Agenda 21 is a big deal, big problem? How many people think Common Core is a big deal, big problem? How many people think taking the guns away and restricting the guns, big deal, big problem, right? Notice what's going on. So when they launch these initiatives, it divides us, right? Now, what if I got up today and told you that there is a solution, that if we all stood up and worked towards, we could solve all of those problems with one solution? And that's what our research showed at Tea Party Manatee. The question was, is there one goal that if we all got in the boat and rowed together, even if it took us 2 to 3, 5 years, could we solve the problems? And the answer was yes, restore our Constitution. That was it. That's the answer. So then the question becomes, how do we go about restoring our Constitution? And yours truly did research across the U.S. looking at every patriotic and liberty organization. What are they doing? And do they have any program and probability of success to restore our Constitution? I found a small group of folks up in New York State. And they had been in and out of court for 5 or 6 years. And they discovered, are there any lawyers in the audience? Any lawyers? Okay. They discovered that the lawyers and the judges have hijacked our legal system. We're founded as a common law country, and Florida, if you read the Constitution, Florida, we're founded as a common law state, okay? But what happens is they take what's called statutes. Now, statutes were invented for the legislature to tell the government workers how to do their job. They don't apply to you and me as we the people unless we voluntarily accept them to apply to us. But they've got some very tricky ways that they get us to volunteer. As an example, you ever sign an application for a license to drive? You ever sign a bank deposit card? You ever signed a birth certificate? Those are all contracts. You're getting contracted into a corporate environment. So at any rate, what these folks had figured out is that if they used the right words and they went into the court, they could stay in the common law jurisdiction. So in essence, all of our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, they're all common law documents. And we're fundamentally a common law country, but it's been hijacked and it's been turned into a large corporation, big revenues, just divorce court. We have a no-fault divorce system in most states in the Union, it's a $50 billion high margin revenue stream. We've even found the fines coming from the court system itself going into 20% of them going into the judges' retirement accounts. It's a mess. It's completely messed up. So what these folks did in New York was start a little organization called nationallibertyalliance.org. And hopefully you got a little brochure that was handed out when you came in. And the website is there. But let me give you a little history real quick, because I know we don't have much time. The history is all the way back to 1215 AD. Who can tell me what happened in 1215 AD? Magna Carta. Anybody ever read Article 61? Magna Carta. Okay. Yep. So Article 61 says, and the king signed this thing, but it says basically that if the king did something to hurt the people, there would be 4 investigator administrators, and they would investigate the complaint and go to the king and say, look, there's a defect here. You have 40 days to fix this defect. Then if they did not get the problem fixed, and the definition of the problem fixed is the victim restored. That's key to common law. The victim has to be restored. If they didn't, then these 4 administrators would take the evidence to the 25. Now, back then it says 25 barons. Today, that's 25 of we the people. And when they bring that evidence, then if that group of 25 people vote that this is an indictment, then the people can do whatever they need to do to restore those people. They can take the king's lands, can take the king's fortune, just cannot take the king and his family. That's all. Cannot kidnap anybody. So now, this is called the common law grand jury. It was set up, this group of 25 people. But back up one more. I've got one question for you. Who can tell me what's the definition of American exceptionalism? What is the definition of American exceptionalism? What's that? Individuality? Well, that's a symptom of it. We the people have the power. Now, what does that mean? So, all human organizations known to man are of one design, a pyramid, with the rulers at the top and we the people at the bottom. The rulers are dictators, kings, lords, whatever it is, and we're at the bottom. Our founders said, no, we've seen too much tyranny. We're going to flip that pyramid up. We the people are the highest ranking sovereign in our system. Ranked below we the people are the states, which the people created. And ranked below the states is the general government or the federal government. We call it the federal government today. So notice the hierarchy. And in any system, it is the highest ranking sovereign who gets to say what is law and what isn't law. So remember, we're back in 1215 AD. Now you roll the camera forward to 1 minute before 1776, where we signed the Declaration. The highest ranking sovereign in the system is the King of England. And in fact, a lot of people were getting frustrated because he would make law one day and the next day he'd change his mind and new law. Now, we snipped the cord to the King of England. Now the 13 colonies become instantaneously 13 independent sovereign nations. But within the law system, who is the highest ranking sovereign? Who? 25 people. When we get together as 25, so we're all kings of our domain, but we have no subjects. We're kings with no subjects. And as long as my domain doesn't interfere with Jason's domain or doesn't interfere with Mike's domain, we're good to go. But if our domains interfere, then we gotta resolve the problem. So when 25 of we the people get together as an investigatory body to evaluate the evidence to see if someone needs to stand trial, when this happens, not even the U.S. Supreme Court can review the decisions of that group of 25. Okay? That's power. Now, let me give you a simple example of how that power could be used. Across Florida today, we have 67 counties. We've reconstituted the common law grand jury in every county. We're going to hold 4 regional meetings. We need everybody in all the Tea Parties, 912 groups, the veterans, everybody to show up. Out of the people who show up in each one of these meetings, we're going to elect the 25. They become part of the statewide unified grand jury of Florida. And then we can start really tackling our problems. So, for example, the very first problem we've decided is most important to tackle is called jury tampering and obstruction of justice. Why? Because as we've tried to stand up our county-based grand juries, our Board of County Commissioners are blocking the access to the grand jury room in the Judicial Center. So instead, we're going to stand up the statewide grand jury. But the second most important priority, as far as we can evaluate it today, is we must stop Common Core now. We must stop it dead in its tracks. Why should we stop it now? Well, because the more it goes forward, the more the kids' brains are getting programmed, and we're dead. We've got to stop it. So one of the things that triggered our research was the State Department of Education held a meeting in Orlando, getting feedback. Lots of people went. I didn't go, but I was told about 80 people went. 77 said, don't do this. 3 said, oh, that's pretty good. So there's the will of the people, right? 77 to 30. So what does the State Department of Education do? Screw you, we're doing it, right? So what did that do? That caused us to do a little research. Where does the governor and the State Department of Education get the authority to tell us what the curriculum is going to be and what the testing standards are going to be? Where does that authority come from? Who can tell us? Guess what? They don't have the authority. We read every word in the Florida Constitution having anything to do with education. No authority was ever granted to any government official. Even the local school boards do not have that authority. Who has the authority under common law? The parents of the kids. Only the parents of the kids. No one can dictate it. Only the parents of the kids, because until the kid is age of majority, they're the responsibility of the parents under common law. And no one can touch that decision. So what do we have? We've got a governor, we've got a State Department of Education, and we've got 67 county school boards who are driving a hoax. And we know because in Manatee County, Tea Party Manatee went to the school board and said, no, 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 stop this. And they said, no, we can't, it's the state. We went to the state and they said, no, 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 it's the local guys. And they just kept doing this. So it turns out that they don't have the authority. But worse than that, there's a list of about 12 serious, and I'm talking serious, crimes they committed to push it forward. Including, top on the list is usurpation. That means taking the power away from someone that justly holds the power. Treason against the U.S. Constitution. Breach of oaths of office. This is very interesting. Article 6, Section 6 of the U.S. Constitution says if you take your salary or your wages from the public treasury, you must have an oath of office to the U.S. Constitution. Oh, this is interesting. So why don't we hold these guys accountable to their oaths of office? Well, guess what? If you're an official in government and you step outside of your oath of office and you do anything against the U.S. Constitution, anything, you are acting in your private capacity. You have lost your official immunity and your assets are at risk and you are actionable. So as we